All right, so true crime fans, buckle up. This one's going to make you go, huh, really? We're going deep on a case that's messed up in more ways than one.
Oh yeah, this one's a doozy.
We're heading to Japan for a deep dive on Takahiro Shiraishi. You might know him as the Twitter killer.
What makes this case so fascinating is that it goes way beyond the crimes themselves.
Right, it's like a weird intersection of Japanese culture, online life, the whole suicide thing, and even real estate.
You got it.
It's not your average whodunit, more like a, whoa, that's seriously messed up on every level. So this all went down back in 2017, yeah.
August 2017. Shiraishi was on Twitter connecting with folks who were talking about suicide, feeling suicidal. He'd chat with them, offer support, that kind of thing.
Sounds almost normal for a guy they call the Twitter killer. Gotta be a twist coming, right?
Big time. His support was, well, let's just say it had a dark side. He'd suggest they die by suicide together.
Okay.
Yeah, and then lure them back to his place.
His apartment. That was the super small one, right? Like how small are we talking?
13.5 square meters.
No way. That's like a closet. And he's inviting people over to, end it all together.
It's grim, for sure. Adds a whole other level of messed up to this whole thing.
Seriously. It's like some twisted Airbnb listing. Cozy studio, perfect for existential despair.
Okay, but really, how did he even manage that?
So the crime scene, well, it was rough. Over just 2 months, he killed 9 people, stored their remains in coolers in that tiny apartment.
Hold up, 9 people. In 2 months, that's not efficient.
It's a lot to unpack. Neighbors started complaining about this smell. That's what finally led to his arrest.
9 people in 2 months, and nobody thought it was weird that folks kept going into this guy's shoebox apartment and never coming out.
That's what investigators were trying to figure out. He was careful, picked people who were isolated, not likely to be missed,
So not only a murderer, but a bad roommate, too. I mean, who lets the trash pile up like that?
Well, this wasn't your typical garbage situation. The apartment, when police got there, it was. Let's just say it was bad. Okay, point taken. Moving on. So, we've got a serial killer working out of a space smaller than my kitchen. Almost funny if it weren't so awful. What happened after they caught him?
Things get even more complicated. This whole one free murder concept in Japanese law popped up.
One free murder? What, like a coupon? Buy one murder, get one free?
Not exactly. It's kind of a simplified way of putting it, but basically, Japanese law usually only gives the death penalty for multiple murders.
Wait, so are you saying they debated if this guy deserved the death penalty because technically he only killed 8 people? Like one was a freebie?
It wasn't that simple, but the case did bring up some interesting discussions about their law and how punishments work for this kind of thing. Yeah, it really got people talking. Some were like, he found a loophole. Others were like, nope, this is still super messed up no matter how many victims.
Right, because killing 8 people is somehow less bad than 9. It's like a messed up frequent flyer program. Kill 9, get your tents free.
Well, the law is not quite like that. But I get what you mean. It shows how tricky the Japanese legal system can be with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely makes you think. But speaking of things that make you think, let's get into this psychologically flawed property thing. It's a mouthful, I know, but it's kind of creepy in a fascinating way,
Right. So these are properties in Japan that have, let's say, a reputation. Crimes, suicides, even just rumors of hauntings, that kind of thing.
So it's like Zillow for true crime fans and ghost hunters.
Sort of. What's even crazier is there's this website that lists all these properties. It's called Oshima Title.
Wait, hold on. There's a website where you can shop for houses based on body count that's morbid and practical at the same time. Like, honey, this one's got a great view, but also a history of unsolved murders. Thoughts?
It's definitely not your average real estate site, but
Yeah.
Oshima Title gives you the whole story, what happened at each place, how it affects the value, all that.
Buyer beware, but for your soul, right? This charming bungalow, perfect for a family. Oh, and by the way, the last owner was murdered in the basement. No biggie.
But they're not quite that blunt about it. More about transparency, Acknowledging the impact those events have on the property, the community.
Right, because nothing says welcome home like knowing a gruesome murder happened in your living room. But okay, back to Shiraishi's apartment. He was already on Oshima Title before he even moved in. What happened there before?
The website says a body was found on the first floor. Not many details, but enough to label it psychologically flawed.
So he chose to live in a place that already had a body count. Talk about bad vibes. You'd think a guy planning to, commit multiple murders would want to start fresh. At least metaphorically.
It's definitely a strange choice. Makes you wonder if he was drawn to that dark history or just pure coincidence.
Maybe he got a discount because of the psychologically flawed status. Like, hey, landlord, not scared of ghosts, pretty sure I can handle whatever went down here. How about a rent reduction?
Doubt that's how it went down, but you're right, it shows how these properties can become, well, undesirable, lose their value.
Yeah, tough to host an open house with crime scene tape still up. Yeah. Check out this spacious kitchen, complete with bloodstains. Perfect for entertaining.
And it can really affect the neighborhood, too. People feel uneasy, you know? The place becomes a source of fear, rumors.
Right, who wants to live next door to a place where bad things keep happening? It's like a real-life horror movie franchise. Murder House 2, Murder House 3, The Reckoning.
Sometimes they just demolish those buildings to get rid of the stigma, let the community move on.
Like hitting the reset button on a really messed up video game. But let's be real, even a new paint job can't erase the creepiness of knowing what went down.
It's true, the past can really stick around, even in physical spaces.
Okay, so we've got a serial killer in a psychologically flawed shoebox apartment. It's all pretty disturbing, but I gotta admit, the absurdity of it all, it's kind of funny. Is it wrong to laugh at the dark side of humanity?
Well, I think humor can be a way to cope with tough stuff, you know? Create some distance, helps you process things that are hard to deal with.
So you're saying it's okay to laugh at the fact that this guy's murder spree basically happened in a studio apartment with a side of existential dread?
I'm not saying make light of the victims or their families, but yeah, seeing the absurdity in this case can be a way to deal with how messed up it all is.
Okay, I can get behind that. Because sometimes life is just so bizarre you gotta laugh. It's like the universe has a dark sense of humor, and we're just along for the ride.
Interesting way to put it. And speaking of the universe's weird sense of humor, let's go back to that Oshima title website. It lists these psychologically flawed properties all over Japan, right?
Yeah, it's like TripAdvisor for fans of the macabre.
It's more than just creepy stories, though. It makes you think about how Japanese society deals with death and tragedy, you know?
Okay, I'm listening.
A lot of cultures try to avoid these topics, pretend they don't exist, but Japan, they've got this public database acknowledging it all, the impact these events have on places.
It's like they're saying, this stuff happened, we're not going to pretend it didn't. We're going to deal with it, even if it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. And some might find it morbid, but there's also respect for the victims, recognizing the impact it has on the community.
Collective grieving, but with property listings. Remember that family that was murdered here? Well, their house is back on the market. Lowball offers welcome.
Again, not that insensitive, but it's a different way to look at death and tragedy, for sure.
I guess it makes sure those stories aren't forgotten, even if they tear down the building or fix it up.
Right. And it makes you wonder, what if other countries did this? Would it be helpful or just too creepy?
Good question. Transparency or just more fear and paranoia?
It's complicated, no easy answers, but it's something to think about.
Okay, well, before we spiral into an existential crisis, let's talk about Shiraishi himself. What kind of person does this? Commits these horrific acts in such a, well, small space?
That's the big question, isn't it? And there's no simple answer. To get into his head, we need to get into the whole mess of human psychology.
So let's get messy. What do we know about him? Anything in his past that hinted at this downsizing spree?
There's been a lot of digging into his life, trying to piece it together. Some say troubled childhood, loneliness, fascination with death from a young age, that kind of thing.
So your typical serial killer starter pack, but without the creepy mansion.
It's not that simple. You can't just connect the dots from childhood to murder.
True. Plenty of folks have rough childhoods and don't end up, murdering people in tiny apartments.
Exactly. His background matters, but it's not the whole story. There's got to be more to it.
Okay, so what else might have contributed to his? We'll call it a condo killing spree.
The internet and social media, that's a big one. He used Twitter to find his victims, took advantage of their vulnerability, made them trust him.
It's like twisted online dating. Swipe right for existential despair and a one-way ticket to a very small apartment.
Yeah, it's scary to think about. The internet can connect people, give them support, but it can also be used to hurt people, take advantage of them.
The internet, where you can find anything from cat videos to a murder buddy. What a world. But speaking of wild, we've covered a lot today. From Shiraishi's crimes to how Japan views suicide and this whole psychologically flawed property thing. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Would you like actually live in one of these psychologically flawed places. Even if it was like way cheaper. If there were a discount on a haunted house or a murder mansion that would make you say, okay, I can handle some bad vibes.
That's a good question. Really makes you think about, ghosts and all that. How much do you believe in that stuff? And do past events really matter?
Yeah. Like, is it all just, superstition? Or is there something about a place where something bad happened? Maybe those walls really do remember things. Or maybe it's just stories to keep the prices down. Who knows?
Part of me thinks, ooh, spooky energy. But I'm also pretty practical. If the price was right and the house wasn't falling apart, maybe I could ignore a few ghost stories.
Depends on the ghosts, right? Creaky floors, no problem. But if the furniture starts moving and I hear voices saying, get out, yeah, I'm gone.
I think most people have a limit. It's like, how much do you believe versus how much do you want to risk it, right?
Totally. But that's what's so interesting about this whole psychologically flawed thing.
Yeah.
Makes you face your own fears, what you believe.
It does. And it shows how powerful stories are. Even if there's no proof ghosts are real, the stories themselves can still freak you out.
It's like they say, we tell stories to survive. Or in this case, to avoid living somewhere.
Right. But stories also connect us to the past. They remind us what other people went through.
That's true. It's like these properties are like physical reminders of our memories. Even tragedy can leave a mark on the world.
Exactly. Some people might avoid them, but others, they might be fascinated by them. Maybe even find them beautiful in a weird way.
It's all how you look at it. One person's haunted house is another person's like fixer-upper with a story.
Exactly. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Wow, that was intense. Gruesome crime, Japanese culture, ghosts, a lot to unpack.
It was. But that's what we do here, right? Challenge what we think, learn something new, and yeah, maybe even find some humor in the darkest stuff.
And remember, sometimes the truth is weirder than anything you can make up, especially when you add a serial killer, a tiny apartment, and a website for haunted houses.
For sure. Thanks for joining us, everyone, for this unsettling but hopefully interesting journey. Keep your minds open, question everything, and remember there's always something new to discover, even in the everyday.
And hey, if you're looking for a new place, check out Oshima Title. You might find a deal on a psychologically flawed property. Just, bring some sage just in case.